Hello YouTube for a nighttime flight. In case you missed the upload from the other night where I basically did it in time acceleration because I didn't have time to live stream, landed here at Honolulu International in the L1011 and ended up buying this 727-100 as I was looking at maybe trying to fly the 727-200 down here and elected to go ahead and do this instead. I'm going to go ahead and open up the main door. And we've got 83 people on board, but this aircraft makes a little bit more sense in terms of flying these routes in the Hawaiian Islands. We're going to be flying to Kualeo? I'm not even going to try, but Papa Hotel Oscar Golf from Papa Hotel November Lima, which is Honolulu International. Oh, our parking brake is not set. Alright, well, excuse me here. We'll go to the thing and do that. Meanwhile, this is pretty much a fresh, clean setup here, so gonna have to make adjustments on the ATC menu and all that good stuff. Usually I like to have it the same width. I may be flicking my mic on and off, and because allergies, fair warning on that. But this flight should only take 12 minutes. I have 40 minutes scheduled, so we may get there really early. But we're basically going to be taking off and landing again. Now this could be a little bit challenging because if I read correctly, the recommended landing length is about 7,600 feet for this aircraft, and the runway there is approximately 7,000 feet. Same thing with takeoff. According to the documentation, the takeoff roll they would like, or this aircraft would like, is about 8,300 feet. But I think we can put the flaps down, power up the engines, and go from there. So a little bit kind of interesting. But I wanted to get a couple of flights in here around the Hawaiian Islands before maybe go and do another very long flight. I was hoping to have time today to do another long flight, but I had, well, my car water pump went out, so had to go get that replaced and dealt with. In the meantime here, let's go ahead, since we are talking about a relatively new plane. This is the 727-100 with Pan Am Livery, complete with hush kit and winglets for improved fuel economy, although the distances we're going to be flying, I doubt it's going to improve very much. That's for sure. But going back to the Pan Am Livery. So again, this would have been flights that the 727-100 would have been, I don't want to say ideal for, but certainly could be used for. Relatively short distances, although probably too short. Back in the day, this would have been far more economical to be served by twin-engine turboprops, such as the Metroliner with Beechcraft B1900 Delta, as well as the larger ones such as the Dash 7 and later Dash 8 series, the Friendship series, aircraft like that. So probably a little bit too short to be utilized effectively by the 727-100. But nonetheless. Okay, I think we're good on everything else. Nobody can smoke on this flight. Unfortunately, that's modern regulations. We don't need to put on the pitot heat quite yet. Let's go ahead and the yaw dampeners on. Is everything else looking good? Test. Should be good. Okay. Windshield wipers actually don't work. Anti-skid on. Go ahead and set the emergency lights to armed. Okay, this aircraft should be ready to go when our last passenger is board. Let's go ahead and tune into ATIS real quick here. Okay, 3002. So we'll go ahead and set our altimeter here. So again, we don't need jetways. This aircraft came with its own air stairs, both in the front and rear of the aircraft. Now our beacon light is on. Okay. Let's see if it'll actually turn the aircraft. I'm willing to bet that it probably won't, but we got plenty of space here. Alright, virtual cockpit. Excuse me here for the noise, but I needed to move my throttle quadrant into position. Okay. We should be ready to go for start on engine 1. Start engine 2 here. I think we're far enough back. Brake on. About 20%. Engine start, engine idle. Engine 2 start. Engine 3 start. Engine 3 start confirmed. Galley power. Bus tie. APU off. Fuel heaters on, although we're in Hawaii, probably won't need those. Fuel looks good. All lights look like they are out. Just the gear doors. Weather radar on, standby. Taxi lights on. Lights on. Pitot heat on. Other anti-icing measures on. Seat belts on. Plane is ready for taxi. Go ahead and set takeoff trim. Set flaps 5. Plane is ready and set for takeoff. Release parking brake. And ready to taxi. Again, I gave us 40 minutes in order to make sure that we had plenty of time, even though the flight plan called for this to be about a 15-minute flight. We have 83 souls on board. There's not going to be enough time to serve any drinks or movies for that matter. Pretty lengthy taxi process here, so I'm glad that I gave us some extra time. Although I expect that we will be getting vectors to final approach probably as soon as we actually take off. Quick sneeze. So passengers are pleased by the music. Wow, I probably should have given us more than 20 minutes worth of taxi time. Instead of doing 40 minutes, I probably should have done 50. Oh, wow. This, yeah, I should have built like 20 minutes just in for taxi time. Or 30 minutes on the ground, just taxing to takeoff position. Oh, hello. Houston, we got a problem. Oh, this better not register as a detect as a collision. I don't think it's registering that that vehicle was even there. Weird. Alright, final checks here. You know what I did not do? I did not print out the flight, the nav log. Oops. Oh well. We're basically going to climb to 7,000 feet and then immediately descend. Honolulu Tower, request takeoff clearance IFR. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Alright, full run up. I like what we see. We're going to be taking off and climbing. I have a feeling we're probably going to be pretty much hand flying this. make sure that we clear that mountain. Trying to trim out the aircraft here. Again, we're going to be hand flying this given the distance involved. Ironically, we have reached our cruising altitude. Above assigned altitude. Dip the nose a little bit here. A little bit of turbulence. Quite a bit of turbulence. I can watch the throttle. So I wonder if this flight's even going to be profitable. To be frankly honest with you, we might lose money. Okay, so we have... Yeah, okay. That's not what I was wanting to do anyway. I want to go to map. I think only runway 2 has an ILS frequency, 110.1. So let's go ahead and dial her in. So we could turn on the weather radar, although I think that's to test. WX. There we go. .1. Set up for ILS. Looks like we're going to be just below the clouds. Passengers are getting a nice view of one of the islands. Passenger satisfaction 94%. It'll be very interesting. On short hops like these, you don't get a lot of leeway in working with your passengers. Going to 115. Although we get safely on the ground, more or less on time, the passengers, they'll be satisfied. Although the next takeoff is going to be very, very interesting, because again, this is a short field. So we're going to want to make sure that we're landing with full flaps. So our nav. Expecting orders to descent here momentarily. But some of these approaches into Hawaii can be interesting because high mountains, steep dives into the runway, all those fun things. Fortunately, we're not being ordered to go visually, but as you can see here, we're flying into some clouds, it looks like. And weather radar is showing rain up ahead. So weather might be a concern for the passengers on landing. That just means bonus points for us. For future reference here, what is the serving time? 15 minutes for drink, 10 minutes for sandwiches, 11 minutes for hot food. So we might be able to offer people hot food and maybe drinks. Hey there, AMP Charity. Thanks for the subscription. There will be a lot more flight sim content on my channel in the coming months. especially as I write basically an FsPassengers, FS Captain-like add-on for X-Plane that I've been working on really since the beginning of the year, after a couple of false starts. But I've got the flight monitoring stuff down. Now I'm working on UI. I'm not going to say that I have everything perfect, but it's workable. Minimally viable state for detecting whether or not you have your lights on at the appropriate altitudes, judging your landing, judging general flight dynamics. I need to make improvements, but that part works, and now I'm working on the UI, which is frustratingly slow. Partially because doing UI work with the X-Plane SDK is tedious. Well, not only tedious, but also just annoying. It lacks any type of easy-to-use markup. And I also generally suck at UI work, so get that on two things. There will continue to be FSX content on my channel through the end of the year with Air Hauler 2. I'm debating whether or not to pick up Prepared and using that with Air Hauler 2, but the truth is I've been looking through my aircraft and very few of them will work over on Prepared version 4. I think only the CLS aircraft would, or will. So all the Captain Sim stuff I'd have to buy again, and if I am going to buy it again, I'm going to wait for it to go on sale in January and pick it up for $10 instead of $50. Weather is worsening as we fly here. So we are in a Pan Am liveried 727-100 with winglets, which, as I've mentioned in previous videos, the winglets and the hush kits would have been installed by FedEx, not Boeing. FedEx originally designed them as noise abatement, and noise pollution laws began to be adopted throughout the world in the 1970s. The 727 series was one of the staples of FedEx during that time for delivering air freight and cargo, and turned into a fairly profitable side business as they retrofitted most aircraft used by basically every airline, or almost every, well, just about every major airline, not only in the United States at the time, but also the world. As the 727 built, for the most part, small to medium routes, with the 727-100 like this being used more on short to medium hauls, with lower passenger counts, with around being able to hold 90 to 115 passengers depending on seating configuration. And then its larger derivative, the 72S or 727-200, that became the real workhorse and backbone of many airlines of that period. Surprised we haven't gotten instructions to descend yet. Hello there, Yabby Games. Yeah, I miss a lot of the 727, a lot of the classic airliners, but it had its time. Again, I got a few of the features on this aircraft that led it to be a very important aircraft in its day, such as the integrated front and rear air stairs. That's added weight that cost fuel. The fact that it took a crew of 3. Well, that's an extra pilot or flight engineer that you're paying for, where the DC-9, MD-80, and 737 all were 2-pilot cockpits. You had a third engine, which burns an additional 5,000 pounds of fuel an hour. Or 3,000 pounds. I think it's close to actually 3,000 pounds per hour. Which, that automatically makes it a third less efficient than, say, a similar 720 or 737 with only 2 engines, or the MD-80 or the DC-9. You know, the cockpit was all steam gauges compared to modern fly-by-wire aircraft like, well, the newer 737 NG and the latest and greatest of those, the Airbuses, the new Canadian, the Bombardier C-Series, the Embraer E-Jet family. And then in the 1980s, you had the introduction of ETOPS, which allowed twin-engine aircraft to fly essentially intercontinental routes over oceans, because the reliabilities of turbofan engines was much greater, even by the 1960s. If you compare to the reliability of the jets, the turbojets that were in, say, the 707 compared to the turbofan engines, now we're going in for an IFR approach, or ILS approach, rather. Now, I like the 727. The Captainson product for $10, well, actually $20, $10 for the base pack, which is the 100, and another $10 for the 200. And then if you wanted the freighter version, it was another $10 on top of that. I'm not so keen on necessarily their pricing structure for that, but it is still, when you get it on sale, $10 or $15 cheaper than the 727 for X-Plane, which I also have, which is an even more intricately modeled aircraft than this is as far as systems go. The Flying JSIM 727 is literally by the book, study sim quality. But it includes the 100, the 200, and the freighter version all in one package. But I really like the Flying JSIM too. So heading into Maui here. I'll go ahead and alright, time to check landing checklist here. Flight director to approach. Do not have glide slope. Does not look like we have DME. Now, I was reading on AirNav that there's terrain limitations, like the PAPI is not visible until I think within like 1.5 nautical miles. Weather shows possible precipitation up ahead. Again, we're going to be arriving probably a little bit late. Took about 20 minutes worth of taxi time on the ground at Honolulu International. Didn't realize that at the time, so I should have added an extra 30 minutes onto our flight time and to our arrival. So we're going to be a little bit late. Hopefully we don't get dinged too much for that, but on such a what was supposed to be a short flight, customers may not be too happy with us, but we've got 83 vacationers on board, enjoying honeymoons, anniversaries, and just tropical getaways. 82 passengers aboard, and we were supposed to arrive a minute ago, so they're already going top. You're ruining into our beach and tiki bar time. Alright, we do have glide slope active. Weather radar to standby for landing. Landing lights are all on. We never turned them off because we never got higher than 10,000 feet. Now just waiting for us to align. I see the airport off at about 10 o'clock. Favorite aircraft, at least that I've flown thus far, I like the 727. I probably have logged more tube liner time in FSX in the 727 than anything else. The other aircraft that I really enjoy flying in FSX is the Captain Sim L1011. Is a close second in my book. And I like flying the 100 more than I do the 200, believe it or not. So we're established on the localizer, I believe. Yep, there we go. Although the aircraft that I'm looking forward to the most in X-Plane is the Rotate MD-11. I don't know when it's supposed to be coming, if it's going to be this year or next year. But the only PMDG aircraft that I really wanted to get was the MD-11. And literally 2 weeks after, when I went to buy it Christmas a couple of years ago, they had just stopped selling it and supporting it like 2 weeks before. Which kind of broke my heart a little bit. But I like the MD-11. I have a friend that flies the MD-11 for FedEx after retiring from the Navy. I think it's something to go from flying F-18s and Goshawks to flying an MD-11, I think. A little bit of difference there. Although I think he also, at some point, transitioned over to the E2 Hawkeye, but nonetheless. Yeah, the shark fin winglets. That they did. Unfortunately, Douglas, and by extension McDonnell Douglas, it's kind of funny. My dad worked on the McDonnell merger with Douglas back in the late 60s. That was like one of the first major projects he did when he started work at McDonnell. And it was really funny because in our household, and in his mind, even to this day, there was McDonnell here in St. Louis, and there was Douglas out on the West Coast. And Douglas, in a large part, was responsible for the sinking of a McDonnell Douglas because of the way that they handled a lot of things. That, like, for instance, Boeing had version kind of, 727-100, and then you had an option of seating selection A, B, or C, with entertainment system A or B. That was it. Those were all of your options. Douglas would customize each airline's aircraft however they wanted, and thus lost out on economies of scale because, the 10 MD-80s for SAS that came off the line would be different than the next 20 that came off the line for Delta, which would be different from the 10 that came off for Ozark or TWA or whomever. There was just a lack of standardization. Not only that, but you might see it in future videos here whenever I do DC-10 and MD-80. There's no logical workflow when it comes to the control panels. The Lockheed is excellent, the L-1011, even the 727s and 707s to a lesser degree. But if you go from the 707 to the 727 to the 737, you can start to see the logic of the workflow of how and where things are laid out. Far better. Okay. Oh, for the love of, please tell me that zero... Okay, good. This is the 7,000-foot runway. There's a second runway here that's only 5,000 feet. So I better stop talking here and pay attention. Probably not my best landing, but got the job done. I think that's actually the turnoff up there, but we're about 10 minutes late. Passengers are not going to be happy, but you know what? Probably be a smart idea to go ahead and turn on music. Yes, the rockin' Hawaiian tunes will alleviate their being ticked off that they're losing time at the tiki bar, because it's all about the all-inclusive tiki bar. Wait. Wow, that looks like a 767 or A300. Yeah, 767. That's only a 7,000-foot runway. My God, what do you have to deploy the flaps to get that thing off the ground? Because don't normally those things like about a 10,000-foot runway? And of course they have us parking basically at the complete opposite end of the terminal. The farthest place they could possibly put us. And we're already on, I mean, minus 11 minutes. Customers aren't going to be happy. That's not going to be good. Next question is where to fly next into Hawaii. We could fly back to Honolulu. Or we could fly to another one of the islands. We'll have to take a quick gander at the other optional airports in the area. And I'm going to have to look them up as well to make sure that they are serviceable by this aircraft. Because I think we need a 5,000-foot runway in order to successfully land and take off. Documentation that I see says this aircraft ideally wants about 8,300 feet to take off, but you can basically put the aircraft at flaps 15 for a short takeoff if you're not fully loaded with fuel, which we will not be. Yikes, I did not realize it was going to take that long to taxi at Honolulu International. Alright. And Control J. Go flight engineer. Turn on the APU. Shut off unnecessary systems. Alright, let's see how badly our passengers were mad at us. Minus 300. Not a great landing, but hey, a very good flight. Professionally done. 99%, that's still good. Reputation is now 90.03. We're getting very close to international status. And the only points we got deducted is because of landing lights and stuff like that, which FsPassengers has issues detecting the landing lights. And total sim income, $347,000. Not too terribly bad for sim bucks. Although a large part of that was thanks to the 6 other aircraft that we had flying. We're going to go ahead and record the flight. Okay, so PHJR, we have a recommendation for that to be the next destination. Hold on 1 second. PHJR. I'm going to take a look at the... well, I'm actually going to take a look at the real-world information about the airport. PHJR. Get airport information. 8,000 feet. Yep, and 6,000 feet. 1,129 and 4,500. So yeah, we have plenty of runway in 2 directions, so PHJR it is. No, want to PHJR John Rogersville. IFR. Okay, I gotcha. I know which one you're talking about. That's Naval Air Station, isn't it? Or maybe it used to be. Well, open to the public. I know which airport this is. I saw it coming in, flying into Honolulu International last night. Navlog, it says estimated time en route 13 minutes. Learning from this last time, around 8,000 feet. Okay. No, we don't want to move. Navlog, I'm going to go ahead and print. Excuse me a second here, as my laser printer kicks on. So, start flight, 82 passengers again, and we'll be flying back to the main island. I don't think we need to take on any fuel. We'll go ahead and carry as much cargo as we can, because cargo equals money. PHJR, flight duration 0 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and say 45 minutes. This time around, we shouldn't take 20 minutes on the ground. Real-time load, go ahead and set this for 5 minutes. Not the best parking job in the world. Alright, looking back at chat. Oh, hi Aiden Hurst, thank you very much for the sub. Much appreciated. Again, as I was saying a little bit earlier, door is closed. Oh, haha, it was open from earlier. Alright, plane is being boarded. Go ahead and request our clearance. Taxi for takeoff options, Maui clearance. There'll be a lot more content on my channel revolving around X-Plane starting next month, and X-Plane 11. There'll still probably be some FSX content, but probably not as pervasive. This is probably my penultimate FSX series. Okay, 3 minutes. Should have cleaned this up a little bit better, but you know. So be it. Alright. We have a second here. 115. Come on. 115. And 116. .1 for first waypoint. Initial course 029, probably 278. Go ahead and set that up. Make sure that the barometric pressure hasn't changed. 3,000, 6,000 scattered. Yes, this is FSX Steam Edition. But say this add-on is FsPassengers. I also have FS Captain that I've really never used much, and I also have got Air Hauler 1 and 2. There are things I like about Air Hauler FsPassengers, though it's kind of been a de facto standard, but nothing like it exists for X-Plane, and I've been waiting for about 5 years for somebody to build something for X-Plane like it. Nobody has, so I've sat down over the summer and have been programming at least an initial version in Python using their Python interface, which is good and bad. I can write it once and it'll work on both or all 3 platforms: Windows, Mac, and PC or Linux. Eventually, I'll probably get somebody to recode it in C, C++ for better performance and a few other reasons, but that should be available at the org store. I'm hoping around the latter part of October. It should be in a demonstratable form. I've been saying this for a month now, but things have taken longer than I would hoped, just with other things going on in real life. But I'm hoping to demonstrate it more in September, and probably have a test run of it probably next week. Yeah, I'm about to say, I thought it was a naval air station or airport. Alright, let's request our taxi. Okay, start engine 1. Uh-oh. Something isn't right. Hold on, I've got to go. I bet you the bleed airs aren't set up. Hey, I would be correct. Takeoff set. I'm going to set flaps 15. Now this aircraft is nowhere near as picky as the 707 is about getting the throttle up there at 20%. Oh there, Officer K9. Welcome back. Two. I think there's a proper order to start the engines on this aircraft. Captain Sim doesn't seem to care if you go 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2. It's not quite picky. Now, I do have them set a little bit forward. That's due to the CH throttle quadrant being a little bit picky. Alright, let's go ahead and turn on our hydraulics. Those are kind of important. We've got generators, so let's go ahead and go to the bus ties. Galley power on. Lights are off. APU is off. Fuel looks good. Fuel heaters are on. No other idiot lights are on that should be on or shouldn't be on. All of our anti-icing is on. We are ready for taxi. Now I've set flaps 15. Again, the information I have on this aircraft says it wants a takeoff roll of 8,300, but that would be fully laden, fully fueled. I've gone ahead and set it up for, well, we're nowhere near, we're at like 50% fuel and about 70% capacity, so we're a little bit light. So really, they want us to take off? That's where we got to go to take off? Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a much shorter taxi than it was last time. In fact, we arrived 10 minutes late last time. This time I bet you that we arrive 10 minutes early. Or 20. Go ahead, turn on some music for passengers. As passengers are leaving Maui and their all-inclusive resorts with tiki bars and heading back to the Big Island to probably catch their flights home and return to the doldrums of day-to-day life wherever in the world they came from. Although part of me tomorrow night or tomorrow evening kind of would like to fly from Hawaii to Guam. You know, in case it gets nuked next week by North Korea. So, takeoff trim set. Engine run up. Looks good. Flaps down at 15 for short field takeoff. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put up the I cut off with plenty of time. Excuse me a second, as I'm about to sneeze. It's not a HD airport as it is an HD texture pack that is available through the Steam store for runways and jetways and stuff like that that replaces the default textures. And then I believe I also have HD trees. I'd have to go look at that again. Can we do it now? So they don't want us doing more than 3,000 feet per minute. Okay. 250. I don't want altitude hold, I need altitude climb. A little bit of turbulence here. We're flying in Hawaii right now. We're going from Maui back to the Big Island. So literally we took off and we have vectors for final. So we're flying around the Hawaiian Islands, essentially. I flew down here, unfortunately off air. I just didn't have time to live stream it. I did put the very condensed version of it on my YouTube channel from Phoenix to Honolulu in the L1011, which is still parked here, or at Honolulu International. And again, I'm thinking of flying on to Guam, long duration flight, but I will... Time acceleration, you're rolling the dice, essentially, because if something does go wrong, like an engine failure, electrical system failure, or something like that, and you're running at 16x, chances are you're not going to be able to do anything to recover before you crash horribly into the ocean. And I need to hit altitude hold before... Okay, we are off. I'm going to go ahead and set up the weather radar. Putting the nose down just a little bit. Make sure that we do get at 8,000. A little bit of a choppy flight. Hopefully we don't get dinged for starting to serve alcohol or starting to serve drinks and not being able to finish it. Unfortunately, we're not quite Southwest. They're getting drinks but no snacks. Excuse me again as I gotta blow my nose / sneeze. It may be Hawaii in the virtual world, but it is allergy season here in the real world. So this is what life is like if you're a regional airline pilot. Very short flights, lots of landing, takeoffs, from place to place to place. And to kind of be fair, the 727-100 was kind of the regional jet of its era. Around 100 passengers, so a little bit more than regional jets today in terms of passenger capacity. The 130, Embraer 135, 145 seats around 35 to 50, depending on configurations. Whereas the larger 175 is around, well, 75 passengers. But their Embraer 195 carries roughly the same number of passengers as this aircraft. It's just operating with two far more efficient engines. And as I was saying earlier, this aircraft is equipped with winglets and indicative of being also equipped with a hush kit, which would have been installed by FedEx, not Boeing. As noise abatement and noise pollution laws gained popularity worldwide in the 70s and into the 1980s. In fact, fun fact, the 727 is illegal to fly over the continent and country of Australia. But yes, when I landed here, we had enough income, and this is called the international airline scenario. You've got to build up to where your company reaches international status, which I believe comes with a reputation of 94%. You have to have less than 3 crashes, or a max of 3 crashes, and your airline also has to include a number of aircraft within its fleet, in fleet mode. Currently we have 6 aircraft, 5 of which I think we've seen flown, and a couple of them in different liveries. This is our second 727-100. There's another one in TWA livery that's flying around the States, as well as a 72S or 727-200, which is currently, I think, in Portland with a Braniff International livery. And we have our L1011 in Eastern Airlines, a DC-10 in Continental Airlines, which I haven't really flown live yet, so that'll probably be the next aircraft flown live. I've got to see if it'll reach from Houston, or I think it's in Houston, to Guam. I've got to double check the range and a couple of numbers there. I think it should be able to reach it, but I'm not 100% sure. And then, again, sending a DC-10 to evacuate people who wish to evacuate before wait, which one is it? Unmakes Guam. AKA the US and Japan actually sees the SM-3 anti-ballistic missile system actually works. Okay, so we have vectors for visual approach. Yeah, that's from the last flight. Runway 4 right approach. I'm going to take this opportunity to... So we're flying to Kealoha. I know I'm not mispronouncing that one. John Rogers Field, former Army or Air Force base, Navy base, something, military base of some kind. And indeed, there is no ILS here, so we will be landing visual. Onto 4R. And Officer K9, I did set up a Discord. I, however, forgot to post the link. And I'm not, well, I could go grab my phone real quick and log into Discord that way, but... Now, I am thinking about getting Prepared V4 sometime this fall and using it primarily with Air Hauler 2, but I don't know, I haven't quite decided. I've got some other expenses coming up. Well, like today I have to get a new water pump and tensioner on my car, on my engine. So that was $700. But such is life. Only thing that sort of slightly annoys me is now my car decides to start nickeling and diming me after 12 years, and I plan to get rid of it. And well, I will be getting rid of it at the beginning or end of the year, start of next year, as my car will be finding a new home, and we will be getting a minivan. Such is life. Glad I filed IFR. So we got 23 minutes when I plan to arrive. Passengers aren't exactly happy, and I'm about to say this is going to be... I hope we're out at the cloud bank, else... I don't know. We may not be able to land on schedule if it's clouded in. Although I think the cloud ceiling they did, and they say, was 6,000 feet. I guess now would be a good time to go look up the ATIS frequency for our destination airport here. ATIS 119.8. So I wonder if COM 2 doesn't work, or we're not in range, one of the two. the throttles a little bit. We're just skirting that 250 knot threshold. What was for our 8,000 foot runway? We'll have plenty of space. One of the things I do like about this aircraft is there's just more to do. There's not as many automated systems. I mean, the L1011, you know, is what I deem to be really one of the first modern airliners, if not the first modern airliner. So much to the point where it has auto-land capability, where literally, if it's an ILS approach, plug in your frequency, hit a button, and sit back, and the next thing you have to do is disengage the auto throttle when you touch down, and deploy the spoilers, apply reverse thrust, and hit the brakes. Literally, the computer pretty much does the rest of it. Now, the Captainson L1011 has a SIVA navigation system, but it's really using GPS code as though it's basically a GPS. So that's not technically accurate as to how that system worked in real life. Again, difference between a game and basically real life. But the 727, while it does have an ILS system and basic autopilot, no auto throttle. You gotta manually watch the throttles and set it. No auto brake. So it's a little bit more involved. Always things going on. Now, I go ahead and use the 2D panel for autopilot, and that's just because it's easier to operate that way. Again, one of the problems with flying tube liners and flight simulators is this is an aircraft designed to be flown by 3 people. So you would have, pilot, co-pilot, and I could use Track IR to be able to look around the cockpit faster. But one, I've had people say that in live streaming and for video recording and stuff like that, that it tends to be quite annoying and jarring. B, it actually makes it harder to click on things because you got to hold your head exactly still, and that's very difficult to do because Track IR moves up, picks up like even the most subtle of head movements. So then it actually becomes a lot more difficult to click on any interactable flight controls and buttons and stuff like that. As far as VR goes, you can buy a program, an add-on called Fly Inside for both FSX prepared as well as X-Plane. And then you have DCS, which is VR ready. There's a Harrier simulator that's also VR ready, and apparently is pretty good. I don't own it yet. But from my experience, at least in DCS, and I haven't tried it with these, but from what I've been told, the numbers on all the dials and stuff like that are just illegible in Oculus Rift or a Vive. It'll be interesting to see what happens with X-Plane 11 if they add native Vive support in, say, 11.1 or 11.2, which may not and probably will not be until sometime next year. What that could entail. I think that would probably be pretty amazing, but fortunately all these great new technologies are coming online, and I probably will not have time to mess around with it much. 3003. Let's set the barometer. Well, everybody's happy on our 82 passenger flight. So I think the maximum that this plane can hold is 93 at capacity. Now our ticket prices are good, not very good. So we're not complete discount. We're not Spirit. We're not Allegiant, but we're somewhere between Southwest and United or American in terms of our pricing. And set that up. And we'll look at that whenever we land here. And that's something I did not do. I did not go back and review our landings last time. Now at some point here, maybe I should have made it an hour long or 50 minutes long, because it sounds like we're not going to be arriving on time again either. Man, I'm really bad at estimating flight times for short distances here. As we kind of fly into pea soup here. So -3 degrees. As we go through there, I might be out chat for a second. Hold on a second. Man, got a little bit of a cough there. Apologize for that. At least you're not hearing me and I'm coughing into the mic. At least I'm getting to the mute button in time. I'm going to look up here if there's any published. Okay, so 4 Right does have a VOR DME published flight plan. Of course, this is our approach for 4 Right. Clearance delivery. Okay, so hold on a second. I'm gonna look at the map real quick here, because I don't know if real world frequencies and flight sim frequencies are one and are the same. NDB. Okay, so there is an NDB right there. That's the other published instrument approach. So I'm reviewing the approach real quick on my other computer here. 242 approach course 032. Okay. Uh, 242, that's accurate. So I'm going to go ADF on 1. Oh, son of a bitch, where's the ADF? Where's NDB? Well, something best laid plans. So that's our air traffic control. Yes, I know. Send and maintain. Okay, is that on the flight engineers panel? Not there. There, there it is. Yeah, I think. Yeah, here we go. Crap. Now, can I actually get a view of it? There's no way to hide the flight yoke, I don't think. So maybe center pedestal? One thing that I do like about... yeah, that's what we have to do. Oh, crap. And of what I was saying about auto throttle. Zero 1 5. Alright, so we got the NDB tuned. Oh, hey, AZ Productions. Okay. Purge course. Other thing I don't like about it is having to switch. I guess I should have clicked the other way, but anyway. 037. I wish I could hide the yoke. That would help tremendously. And there may be some way to do it. I just have never found it. Don't need that. Get rid of that. Zero, 4, 1, and 11. Okay, so we're basically facing a dead-on headwind. Okay. Gear down, 3 green, flaps 30. We are set for land. if there's a taxiway up there or not. Hey, with 2 minutes to spare. Not a bad landing. Okay, landing lights off. Weather radar 2 standby. Should have already been in standby. Not exactly an uneventful flight. What happens when you're trying to tune the ADF to the appropriate frequency, and there's no good way of getting to it? I don't think there's an express call-up for that, is there? Ah, that would have been the way to do it, is to bring up the 2D panel. That would have made sense. I don't think that this airport has a jetway. Fortunately, our aircraft is equipped to deal with this situation. So what time is it? 1:03. I do have to be up in the morning and to somewhere at a decent hour, but I'll have to be somewhere and I have to be functioning. But that's what coffee is for, right? All right, so parking brake, taxi lights off, beacon should still be on. So go to flight engineer, shut down systems we don't need right now, get the plane cleaned up. We're APU start. Alright, looks like we got current, galley power off, APU, APU, got a virtual cockpit here, and engines off, beacon light off. And again, we have a way of dealing with the fact that we don't have jetway here. So let's see how bad it was. Hey, they're pleased to have landed right on schedule. Exceptional flight as far as they're concerned. Minus 312 feet per minute touchdown, 116 knots. All that looks pretty darn good. Actually, what was our total block time? I guess 45 minutes almost exactly. Horrible, considering stalling an aircraft full of passengers is not a good idea. Minus 350. Yep, precise arrival time, 47 seconds difference, plus 100. It was an overall good flight. Not a great flight, a good flight. Again, another 347,000 sim bucks. Not horrible, we didn't crash. So let's go ahead and do that instant replay thing again. 360. That's always fun to have to watch the animations here. Outside tower. Not exactly stable, or the most stable ever. We start really floating down the runway. Ground effect taking full force there. Planted it. Down. And reverse thrusters, or thrust reversers that actually work now. What it looked like from the window, from the passenger view. So any suggestions on where to fly next? I think I have one more flight left in me. Somewhere around in the tropical paradise that is Hawaii. The 50th state, the Aloha state. I could always go look at the map. We've been to Maui. We started out at Honolulu International. One more instant replay here, as I'm about to sneeze. So it looks like there was a turnoff at the end of the runway there, but wasn't sure. So any other suggestions here? World map. $7,700. There's this runway here. We should be able to make that no problem. North side of the island. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Barking Sand, 6,000 feet. The bus say that we'd have to nail that landing at 1634. This would probably be the better airport to go to. They're all 6,500 feet. Yeah, let's go to, let's go here. Fly to China. Unfortunately, don't have the time, and this airplane does not have the fuel or range capability. Now, after I fly the DC-10, the DC-10 might, but I don't even know if the L-1011... the L-1011, it would be close. Well, actually... No, that's not what I want to do. Flight planner... PHJR... What is our 5,100 nautical miles? Yeah, the only aircraft in our current inventory that could make to Hong Kong would be the DC-10. The L-1011 might, and that would be with a generous tailwind. So, yeah, the 727-100 ain't gonna make that flight, unfortunately. But, 8,000 feet. What is it? 25-minute flight. Trying to think here. 25 minutes. Yeah, I think I have enough time. We can do that. Oh, wrong airport. PHJR 2. Find route. 4,000 feet. Okay. 11 minutes. No. Navigational log. PHLI. Start flight. 83 passengers. 91% is our reputation. And you can see right here, here's the information for the aircraft. We're currently a national company. Just about $5 million in cash on hand. 91% reputation. And yeah, we still got plenty of fuel. Alright, 8 first-class passengers, 75 in back and coach. Go ahead and max out the cargo. We're going to be a little bit front-heavy, it looks like. And again, we're going to pick 45 minutes. Going to go ahead and set a 2-minute load time. Nope, we don't want to escape slide. Unpause. Taxi for takeoff. See what other traffic there is around here. Delta flying an A330. Oh, a Boeing 732. Aloha Air Cargo. Aloha Air Cargo. I bet you that's probably FedEx. Yep. I think we looked at that one already. Then American 737s, 767s. Your standard wide-body, long-haul aircraft this day and age. Meanwhile, us on Vintage Airways here with our 727 with Pan Am Livery. Okay. Let's turn on some music for our passengers. Bleed airs are on. Alright. Go to flight engineer here. Bus tie, generator 1. APU off. Nope, other way. Off. Hydraulic systems on. APU light off. Galley power on. Set to idle. Idle. Okay. Takeoff trim set. Radar to standby. Flaps 5. Parking brakes disengage. Gee, once again, not the way I would have thought. Okay, so we'll be taxiing around the world. I'm gonna use a little bit of thrust differential here, although with the engines being mounted in the back, differential thrust doesn't really help as much as when they're mounted outboard on the wings to help turn the aircraft. So yes, it's like we're a regional airline. If you don't have a lot of time and you want to do the scenario in FsPassengers, Doing it in Hawaii is not a bad option. Quite a few little airports to fly in and out of. All that can be flown within an hour. So yes, this week I think we will be completing this scenario. Probably this weekend. I think there's going to be one more very long flight with the DC-10. Maybe a couple of shorter flights. We're now to the stage where little mishaps can negative impact the company's reputation far more dramatically. We're kind of getting to the point where even with 100% exceptional flights, it's only increasing our reputation by 0.5%. Or some fraction thereof. So instead of taking, before we're getting 1.5%, 2% reputation gain, now we're getting 0.5%. Well, now it's going to take 4 or 5 flights. So I take it this is hold short. Yep. Run up looks good. Begin a roll. Probably a little bit early there. Intermediate vectors to final. So yeah, this would be what life would be like in a regional airline, only a little bit longer time in between flights than 2 or 3 minutes, more like 20, but you know. So it goes. Excuse me as I just had to sneeze. So in the air again. Yeah, not a whole lot of clearance there. This is kind of a fun place to fly. And welcome back, anybody who's come back, and new viewers, old viewers. We are kind of doing island hopping here in Hawaii in our Pan Am liveried 727-100 aboard vintage Airways flight something something something. I didn't really pay too much attention to that. But I just really like flying this aircraft. It's my favorite airplane, tube-liner at least, in FSX. By a country mile. Second place is the Captain Sim L1011. Thus far. Navlog 113.5. say they're already lining us up for vectors. Now, I'm not sure that this is the right aircraft. I think something like the Majestic Q400 or even the Virtual Call -8 series, if you're looking for the ultra cheap end, may be a better choice for this. I mean, what are they flying? I know that the 717 was very popular with Hawaiian Airlines, aka the MD-95, or later the Boeing 717. Basically, the replacement for the last generation of DC-9, basically, was very popular with Hawaiian Airlines. Again, it's going to be more efficient on this route than this aircraft with its third engine, third crew, but having the integrated air stairs does mean we can operate from, well, less developed airports, like the one we landed and took off from. But that's what made this aircraft unique, was just as the jet age was being ushered in, it contained those features. Now, interestingly enough, the 732 did also include integrated front air stairs as well. So really, at that time, Boeing had two aircraft, the 737 and the 727-100, that were competing with each other. Both of them carried roughly the same number of passengers, but again, the 737-200 was really kind of designed as a short-range, a short-haul aircraft, where this was kind of designated as short to medium-haul routes. And then when the 150 or thereabout passenger 727-200 came about, it became the backbone of most airlines, at least mainline U.S. domestic carriers, until eventually replaced by the 737 Next Gen, the 500, 600, 700 series. Or no, wait, 400, 500, 600. No, I'm right. 300, 4, 500. I'll get it right here in a minute. Because the Next Gen was the 600. No, that was the. Was it the 456? I have to go look it up. It's past midnight, therefore my brain officially shuts off. That's my excuse. Try to get it up right to that edge of 250. Shave a couple of minutes off our flight time without going over and violating FAA regulations and getting fined in the process. Oh, I must say, I gotta write that down. Flight needs to detect start Latin lawn and end Latin lawn. Okay. Sorry, I was just thinking of something when writing my plugin for our add-on for X-Plane and calculating how much revenue. So I will write down what I just thought so that I know to implement it next week. Or Sunday night, when then the next time I work on it. I might work on it tomorrow night. The missus is going to be busy with stuff tomorrow afternoon and evening, so I'll have some time to flight sim. I'm going to do a live stream over with regards to Elite Dangerous, and talking about a player-driven or a community-driven marketing research study about that game and some of the interesting details it revealed. Try not to stall the aircraft this time. Yeah, I'm starting to fade quickly. About to get to my bedtime. Leaving on one island, heading to another. I hope we're heading to another. Hope it's somewhere out there. Else we're flying into the abyss. We're about to become the next. What was it? Oceanic 815. We're going to become the pilot of a J.J. Abrams series that umpteen years later still don't have any answers to. Although, interestingly enough, I believe they were on an L-1011 in that series. Fun bit of lore. So we can take some looks here. Oh, these should not be down. What kind of airline are my stewardess, attendants, whatever they're called these day and age? I guess somebody has to use the lavatory here. Interestingly enough, that will not go up. That one is bugged. Did somebody say D.B. Cooper? Didn't they find some evidence about D.B. Cooper recently? Who jumped out the back of a 727 in 1973? There about the early mid-70s when hijackings were real popular. For ransom? I might be wrong about the D.B. Cooper dates. That was a PSA, Pacific... what was it? Pacific Southern Airlines? I forget what PSA stands for. But it's one of their flights, and interestingly enough, they were the airline that Southwest modeled themselves after. As I sneezed again there. Apologize if you hear me just suddenly or hear the mic click in and out. I'm either about to cough or sneeze. It's allergy season and it's getting bad. And Zyrtec is only doing so much, it seems like. Uh-oh, got a little bit of turbulence here, a little bit of bouncy, bouncy, shaky, shaky. Who's gonna do? And I think my four-legged flight engineer has come down and is probably looking to use the lavatory after this. Wind shear ahead. Interestingly enough, That was put in after, what was it, the 93? Or was it back in the 80s? Was it? It was the L-1011, the Delta L-1011 that crashed at Dallas-Fort Worth, basically trying to land in the middle of a microburst, which prompted the adding of wind shear alert into aircraft. And I think it was a ground detection system that was eventually implemented at most airports, at least in the United States, at least major commercial airports. I think that was part of the GWPR, GPWS. The right acronym here in a minute. So yes, I do just spout off random facts and information about aircraft and flying and situations and stuff. Guess I should have turned off that light a long time ago. Still detecting wind shear. If we've got wind shear and stuff, that could make this tail end of this flight relatively interesting. No, 6? No. 7? No. Wait. This aircraft has SIVA? Since when? Holy crap! This aircraft has a working SIVA system? Okay, I did not know that. There we go. Weather. WXA. Probably should tilt the radar up. Okay, test is good. I just guess there's no... I guess there's nothing out ahead of us, rain-wise or precipitation. Okay. So once again, I picked 17 minutes. I don't know if that's going to be accurate or not. Okay, let's see here. 20 nautical miles. 0.7. So basically, LIH is right on top of that airport. So we are 24 nautical miles. We probably should be getting instructions to turn and go to the radar here, but I don't know. This could be an interesting landing, especially if we've got wind shear. Involved. Although if we do land safely, we will get some bonus points. For it was extreme weather conditions, and passengers were nervous. Found the island. That looks like that's probably the airport. Freaking sneezes. And I apologize for having to shut off the mic, but better than me sneezing into the mic. That'd be totally unprofessional. Not that I'm a professional at all when it comes to YouTube streaming. I just kind of do it. Dum 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 dum. Probably tell me to expedite my descent. Again, one sheer alert. This is going to turn into a very interesting landing, I have a feeling. Oh, hey, turbulence ended. Passengers are still satisfied, mostly. So we're 15 nautical miles from the airport. Pretty much dead ahead of us. But that may not necessarily be true for the runway. I'm going to hold my speed down to about 160 knots. Still detecting wind shear ahead. Get that all set up. Okay. Radar off. I should say to standby. Huh, there is an ILS approach for this runway. But I think, or to this airport, but we should be getting instructions to make our final turn and the runway be at our 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and then approach for landing. Well, yeah, about that. Well, this is going to be interesting. In fact, yeah, let's select another approach. Well, there's the runway. Well, this is going to be fun. Okay. So... this ought to be fun. Yeah, I gotta get rid of that. Flaps secured. Probably gonna get a warning about our sink rate here. That was a fun landing. Did anybody see which way the, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm like, did anybody see which way the gates were? Do we need to cheat? Back over there. That was, by far, I think, the most difficult approach I may have done. give our passengers a little bit of... And we will go and watch this in its entirety as we're even going over the mountain range, because, yeah, that was real fun. Oh, by the way, you need to go in between the mountains, turn and land. But we did it. I'm sure it's not my most elegant approach ever of all time, but we made it down safely. Oh wow, I've been streaming for almost nearly 3 hours. Well, we've done 3 flights in that time, so not too bad. You got to be a little bit more familiar with the Hawaiian Islands. I've never actually flown here in the flight sim before, nor have I ever been to Hawaii before in my life. Maybe would have gone about 18 years ago, when my mother was supposed to get a national award from an extension group, but unfortunately she died of cancer before was able to go and accept the award. And then my wife and I, we went to Europe on our honeymoon. Okay then. We're not far enough ahead. Alright, pretty standard shutdown procedure here. Flight engineer. APU on. Taxi lights off. Nav wing lights off. APU. APU. Galley power off. Hydraulic systems off. Engine shut down. Beacon light off. And main exit open. And let's see how bad the flight was. Oh, we got a nice landing. Landing touchdown, negative 207 feet per minute. Nice. 113 knots. Another 0.76%, 92%. Flight was perfect. Perfect flight. We arrived 1 minute and 50-second difference. We arrived at the scheduled airport. Perfect flight. Very nice landing. And then the lights that FsPassengers and Captain Sim 727 don't get along with. Options. Instant replay. Yes, I know F1. Let's try 500 seconds, see where that puts us. Alright, I'm going to rewind it just a little bit further. Let's see here, 560 seconds. So yes, we're coming in. Not a lot of room for error here. Basically have to come over to the big mountain. And then pretty much dive at the runway. So let's see what it looks like from the view of the tower here. Normally I wouldn't put it this far back, but yeah, I'm sure that this is a pretty steep descent. I'd hate to have to try to land something larger. But that's the thing, half the time on these things I don't know what's going to happen. There's some very interesting approaches. This winter, probably over on X-Plane, I want to retry to do my skiers and snowbirds, where we'll be flying a 727 from destinations like Aspen and Vail. In particular, Aspen to Florida Southwest Regional, up to Burlington, Vermont, Montana. Though interestingly enough, I know the landing lights were on, but it doesn't look like that. So now that I'm comfortable that we are indeed over to the mountain, do you see the runway? Do you have the runway in sight? No, I see a gigantic mountain in sight. Oh, now I see the runway. Oh, you want me to attempt a visual landing on that? Okie dokies. That's a pretty hefty descent rate for landing. And I think the main exit may be open. We might be landing with the main exit open. That's just an animation glitch. There we go, it's closed. Ta-da! Magic. Say, hey, look, it looks like there's a tiki bar back there at the hotel that our passengers will be going to enjoy momentarily. I don't know, that wow, that's actually probably one of my better landings. wonder what the passengers would have been thinking. Aircraft, left side window. Let's do this time warp thing again. Let's do 530 seconds. So yeah, coming over the mountain range. Oh, hey, there's just this nice little mountain out my window. Wow, we are really close to that mountain. I hope this pilot knows what he's doing. Says the passenger. Looking out ahead. Oh, look, there's a petrochemical factory. Wait, I don't think we're lined up with the runway. I also think we're a couple of feet actually outside the aircraft. Shh. Aw, the blades don't move. They're static. Yeah, I really hope this pilot knows what they're doing. We're trying to land and do a visual landing in LaGuardia? Yeah, visual landing into LaGuardia is kind of a lot like that. Hey, there's a golf course. Probably at the hotel that everybody's on our plane's going to be staying at. The golf resorts. Look, another tiki bar. Just don't ask for the room with a view of the chemical plant, or power plant, or whatever that is. Oil refinery. Kind of spoils the view. Oh, there's the runway. I guess we're going to land on, in fact... Oh. That wasn't a bad landing. That was pretty smooth. Everybody clap. Yay. One more time. What was that? 5:35 this time around. So yeah, we not a lot of clearance there. Okay, that's fun. That's the same place it happened the last time, too. I guess something with the replay data. There's everyone's favorite golf course. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good note to end things on, I think. With that, thank you very much for watching. I will try to stream some tomorrow evening as well. Hopefully, it'll probably be a slightly longer flight with much larger aircraft, but stay tuned for that. Till next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then.